Well, let me share my book with you all. So we have stopped the item 80. Let me just make it a bit smaller, otherwise I cannot read. Here I am. Welcome, everyone. A quick reminder that this is not a lecture. This is a study. And as such, I hope you all participate with questions, comments, disagreements even, because this is what makes this a study. Let us return to the explanation of how a table moves. If a spirit can lift a table by the means indicated, then it can lift anything else as well. An armchair, for example. And if it can lift an armchair, it can also lift it with a person sitting in it, if uses enough force. Thus, we have provided an explanation for the phenomenon that has been produced 100 times by Mr. Home himself, and by others too. Just a small stop here. This Home, in reality is Home, is Douglas Home. He was a Scottish medium, and through my researches, study, he and Mirabelle, they are by far the strongest mediums of physical effects I know. There are others, quite important as well, but those two names are the ones that really got my attention, and I could not see others doing what they did. He repeated it on a recent trip to London, and in order to prove to his audience that they were not victims of an optical illusion, he made a mark on the ceiling with a pencil and also allowed them to pass beneath the chair. Everyone knows that Mr. Home is a powerful physical effect medium. In this instance, he was both an efficient cause and the levitated object himself. I do not recall Holmes doing any tasks on the sunlight, but Mirabelle, he did. And this is something extraordinary, because we know that the sunlight, even artificial lights, can destroy the ectoplasm. That is the roof, the material used to perform those examples mentioned here. How he did? No idea. That's one of the questions we don't have an answer. But the fact is, what Holmes did in the theater, Mirabelle could do in the open sky during the day. So something you all can search and learn and tell me and teach me how that's possible, because I could not find it. Increase and decrease in the object, in the weight of the objects. Item 81. We alluded earlier to the possible increasing of an object weight, which is a phenomenon that has in fact been produced at times, and about which there is nothing any more abnormal than the resistance of the bell glass caused by atmospheric pressure. Under the influence of certain mediums, we have seen very light objects offer the same sort of resistance, and then suddenly yield to a very little effort. With the bell glass experiment, the object in reality weighs no more or less than its normal does. It just seems heavier because of the outside cause acting upon it. The same thing probably happens with a table. It continues to maintain its intrinsic weight since its mass has not been increased, but an outside force opposes its movement. The cause maybe in the surround fluids that penetrate it, or just as the bell glass cause is an atmospheric pressure. Perform the bell glass experiment in front of an unlearned peasant, and he will not understand what the acting agent is actually in the air that he cannot see. It would be very easy to persuade him that it was the devil's work. Interesting. Yep, go on.
Sorry, it's Christine.
Hi, Christine.
In Australia. Hello, everybody. Just on this subject, talking about not so much the weight, but people can see it and can make their own assumptions at the time about how things were happening, whether it was done with smoke and mirrors or it was real. What's your thoughts or anybody's thoughts on animals that actually see things like a table lifting or an object lifting, or just staring at a certain position and acting in a strange manner?
I think I got lost with the question, because I think you said something about what animals seeing tables moving or things like that. So that is something that I cannot elaborate, because I have no base for it, right? But in regards to animals staring a place like they see something that we don't, that's very normal, because animals, they also can see like we can see as well, right? Not all of us have the ability, the clairvoyance. Not all the animals do either, but some animals, they do have that possibility to perceive the spirits, to perceive something in a different states of matter. So there is no surprise there. An animal seeing a table lifting, that's another thing, because I have no register of it. I never read anything about it. And it'd be hard to know what the animal is thinking, but I guess it's possible too. But an animal that is staring to a wall, start to bark into a window or something like that is very, very common. To the point that even some mediums, well-known mediums, suggested that it's positive to a medium to have a little pet at home. Not only because of that, but because of some energies that are not very positive for the mediums can be filtered, if I can use that word, can be filtered by the pet, helping the medium and the medium environment. So yeah, this is very common. And I had a dog that I used to call him crazy, because he used to bark all the time, to everything, to the wall, to the window. And it was easier when we were about to start the gospel at home. He was kind of, I don't want anybody here, get off everyone. And because he was seeing spirits. So yeah, it's very normal. This is very normal. Does it help that answer, Christine?
Yes, it does. Thanks, Gil.
All right. So one could perhaps think that since the fluid is imponderable, then its accumulation could not increase an object weight. Agreed. However, notice that if we have employed the word accumulation, it is to make a comparison and not to identify the fluid with the air. Since it may be imponderable, nevertheless, there is nothing to prove that it is. Its essential nature is unknown to us, and we are far from knowing about all of its properties. And this statement is still very present at the moment, at this particular moment in time. Perhaps we moved a little bit further, but we don't know enough. We don't have enough information. Before knowing about the weight of the air, of air, no one would have suspected such an effect to be possible. Electricity is also classified among the imponderable fluids. Nevertheless, an object can be held down by the electric current and will strongly resist however attempt to lift it. It does appear to have become heavier, but simply because of the fact that there is no support to be seen. It would be illogical to conclude that there is none. Hence, a spirit may possess means of leverage unknown to us. Nature proves to us every day that it cannot be limited to the testimony of our senses. When he's talking about nature here, he's talking about the universal laws. There are so many things we do not know. When I mean we, I mean the human nature, mean scientists, mean people, very clever people. We don't know. We really don't know. Constantly things we believe we know, someone comes and proves we were wrong. So it's part of life. One remarkable phenomenon, of which we have many similar examples, could only be explained by a similar cause. It involves a young and delicate lady who, by using only 2 fingers and as easily as she would a feather, can lift a strong and wealthy man along with the chair upon which he is sitting. The intermittent expression of the faculty in this type of phenomenon proves that its cause is foreigner to the person who possesses it. Well, I think we've spoken a lot about fluids, about how the process happens, but it's fair to say that many people will read and will not believe it. Hi, Charles. Charles, your mic is closed.
Yes, hello everyone. 2 things which are interesting. I mean, first in the translation, a little in the previous paragraph, he's talking that, you know, this bell, glass bell that you cannot lift is due to the atmospheric pressure. Whilst in the French, it's due to the air. So the translator has already introduced some new scientific knowledge in the meantime. In the translation, in the original, it's not that detailed. And then the second thing is, until today, science does not know what is the factor or the vector or the intrinsic cause of the attraction. The moon and the earth are attracting, the sun and is attracting the earth, turning around. We know perfectly the laws of all this. It's the gravity constant multiplied by the masses divided by the distance between both at square. But there is no elastic, no rope, nothing in between. So the science has not yet discovered what is the cause of the weight of a table. And in my opinion, this faculty, spiritual faculty that is capable, as at home or whoever, of changing the weight of something is a very good indication for science to progress in these investigations. There have been several theories like the graviton particle, but nothing proven yet. So one can assume that the cause of this gravity is somewhere also linked to these fluids, to this spiritual world, to this different density of matter. And there is a need really to progress in the observation of this phenomenon, in the investigation, in order to find out what is the natural law which is governing this.
And we are talking about the 21st century. Imagine,
yes. Imagine 160 years later that the book was written.
Yeah,
And by the way, it's also interesting here, Kardec is confirming that he has witnessed some phenomenon which were done by Daniel Douglas Home in Paris at that time. Because he's clearly talking about it.
It is really amazing, really amazing. Hi, Rafael. Good morning. Go on.
Good morning. Hello. I just want to add a few of my thoughts to this. And I firmly believe that around about that time when the books were being written, that there was a lot of planning on Earth to make sure the message was delivered and to facilitate communication between spirits and reincarnate. So we do see in some of Chico's book that there was, for example, with Alcyone, she came from another planet and she came to assist. She came on a large group of people to reincarnate on Earth. And when they reincarnated, they brought different magnetisms, but not only that magnetism within their body, but they also brought links with higher spirits from another parts of our galaxies. So with them comes different mass and the ability to pass on different mass and weight doing these experiments, just because they have different chemistry to our planet and to our atoms. So this phenomenon was needed because at the time the book was being written, faith needed to be strong, not just in God and in Jesus, in the spirits, but faith that whatever was happening was necessary. So that explains why over various parts of that world at that very time, there were so many mediums doing wonderful materializations, and that exploded again when Chico Xavier was doing his work in Brazil with materializations. So I firmly believe that Earth is supported constantly by spirits that come in and out of transit from other galaxies, and with them comes different magnetism to help us grow, and comes different source of energies and atomic constitutions that will facilitate not just our learning, but facilitate the changing of the Earth as a whole, the Earth spiritual atmosphere as a whole, with the influx of different positive energies and thoughts.
I agree with almost everything you said. But before, I want to hear Munir.
I just want to point out something that called my attention here, the beginning of this part, is that it says that, the intrinsic weight doesn't change, and that whatever happens is external to the object that is being lifted, showing that in this phenomenon, the property of that object won't change. Is there something extra? An extra effect is taking place, and then counteract, for instance, in this case, the effect of gravity upon the object. But not gravity is not changed, and the object in itself is preserved. What happens is there is another actor in this play that produce the effects, and Kardec points out that it is external to the object. We've seen those training centers for people jumping in the sky and so on. There is this almost like big fan pointing upwards, and then people just go there and the air keeps them floating, and it's a clear way of counteracting gravity with something that is external, this wind, strong wind upwards, and then keeps people stabilized at a certain height. I think what is produced here is something external that acts upon that object, and not changing the property of the object or annulling a gravity as such, but counteracting with an extra force here.
I agree.
Let me talk about spirits from a different globe, energy from a different globe, and what we know in the Spiritism. We know that to reincarnate in a different globe, our perispirit has to be left behind, and we have to constitute a new perispirit for that new globe. The perispirit is made of matter. The perispirit of the spirits on earth uses the matter from earth. The perispirits from Jupiter, for example, uses the matter from Jupiter. That movement from spirits from one globe to another always existed, always will. That's the way things evolve. But to that to happen, they have to go through this process of losing their perispirits and acquiring a new one. Saying that, I have a very hard time to see when a spirit from another globe reincarnating on Earth, bringing a different energy from that globe. They may well bring knowledge, how to use what we don't know how to use. They may well bring technology, because it's very familiar to them. But to bring energy from a different world to this one here is something else. We have reports from the 60s, when we had a lot of materializations, even back in Brazil, that spirits mentioned that they brought particles from different globes to treat people. But spirits from Earth, they said that. Because I'm coming from a different globe, I will bring my energy. I have a hard time to see that happening. I will bring, yes, my advanced spirit, if I can say like that, will bring possibilities. I will have different ideas. I will boost the science. I will boost the technology. But I don't see the other way around. Bear in mind that I'm speaking about Spiritism, right? And here we try to stick to what we know on the Spiritism. Bear in mind that we don't know everything either. I don't know everything either, but I'm just sharing what I think. I think that's it. I had something else to say, but I forgot what it was. What do you think, Rafael?
I fully agree with you. I think that reincarnations, different sorts of reincarnations are necessary to bring out external intelligence, technology, and methods of healing. Because obviously, if you just to give a very, very simple example, if you get someone from the UK and you take them to the middle of Amazon, they will bring paracetamol, they will bring vaccines, they will bring surgeries, they will bring different things. And if you take someone from Amazon to the UK, they will bring all sorts of wonderful, beautiful herbs and teas and medicine. They will be so different than anything you've ever seen in here. And they might work more beautifully because they will have a long-lasting effect. Paracetamol will be quick, but there's nothing like a natural herb that can bring healing very slowly over a period of time. So that's what the exchange of intelligence and healing methods does. For example, with the crop circles, they are nothing more than like acupuncture on the planet. We never knew why crop circles were there. Now we know that they are a way of taking very heavy, bad energy that from bad things that have happened in the past that's still very much linked to that part of the earth. And when you work on a crop circle, you're doing nothing more than releasing that energy and allowing more energy from external sources to come in and purify earth. So yes, I agree with you. I think Jesus came from another globe, and I think, yeah, he's still bringing different sources of healing and beautiful energy to help us.
Yeah, I agree. Only a remark is that the Spiritism has no remarks about crop circles. We have no knowledge about that. And in all the books I had the opportunity to read, there was no mention about that. So we don't know. And I like to remember everyone that, because this is a study based on the Spiritism. Nothing against any other knowledge. I used to read everything, but
Cool.
here we stick to the Spiritism. One remarkable phenomenon of which we have many similar examples could be, I read that again. Sorry, I did that already. So we are about to start at chapter 5, is spontaneous physical manifestations, noises, racket, and disturbances. The phenomena we have just dealt with are usually artificially produced. However, they sometimes occur spontaneously without the participants' will, and in fact, they almost always become quite untimely. Furthermore, what excludes them from the notion that they are the effects of imagination that has become overexcited by Spiritist ideas is that they occur among persons who have never even heard of Spiritism, and at times when they are least expected. So just to make a quick difference between what we were reading before and now, before there was something planned. We knew we would be in that environment. We were in that meeting. We were in that theater, expecting that phenomenon to happen. And now it's something that was totally unexpected. This phenomena, which may be regarded as involving natural spirits practice, are very important because they exclude any suspicion of contrivance. Contrivance, I don't even know what that means. This is why we have recommended to individuals who concern themselves with the spirit phenomena that they gather all the data of this type which they may become aware of, but especially that they carefully determine their reality through a detailed study of circumstances so that they may assure themselves that they are not the objects of a simple illusion or hoax. This is something very important here. What is that? Well, I forgot the word, but the important thing is we have the duty to always evaluate carefully every phenomena. When I mean every phenomena, I mean psychography, message coming from God knows where, everything that comes to us, we need to be very careful. In that particular instance here, the physical effects, even more nowadays, because with the technology today, basically you can make up anything at all. You can see on the movies, we can see what they call deep fake, even people talking, they were not real people, they were totally fake. They were digitally changed. So today it's even more complicated. So anything we see, I strongly recommend that we take that action to move a step back, analyze the fact once, twice, 3 times, even more. Do a research in the community to see if that's not only you that can describe what's going on, if there are more people. Try to find the basis, in our case, in Kardec, if we could find any explanation of what we believe we are seeing in Kardec, and eliminate any other possibility before we consider there is something related to the spirits. Okay, this is to keep us safe.
Gil, it's Christine again.
Christine.
Just back to what Rafaela said previously when she was talking about the circles. there's a lot of people in the world, and there's been a lot of speculation about what those circles are. And that seems to me to fall into what we've just started to talk about, things that have appeared or objects moving, circles appear. And some people have said it's spirits, it's people from other worlds, it's someone driving around in a tractor and making the circles, and other sorts of examples. And that seems to fall into what we're starting to talk about here, but there's a lot of people that seem to believe in that. I haven't read anything. I just know what I've seen, and what a lot of other people have seen. So it seems to fall into this area somewhat. I'm not sure if that's correct, but that's what I understand.
What I just read, I take that as a device for life. Everything in our life, we should be thorough and evaluate for our own benefit. This case in particular of the crops, I don't have a clue what that could be. I can come up with 10 different theories, but I don't have a clue of what they are. There is no scientific proof at all. I read a little bit about it. There's no scientific proof. So I don't know. I really don't know. Could be. Yes, could be. Could be aliens, could be insects, could be tractors, as you said, could be anything. We don't know. So as we don't know, using this as an example, as we don't know, we have to be particularly careful not to fall into something that may misguide us. And when I'm talking about misguide us, I'm thinking about things on the Spiritism. There's a lot of things written in books that could misguide us, because one person or one group interpretation doesn't mean that that fact is correct, interpreted, or true. So I always like to be cautious on anything, sometimes even too much. But we need to find a balance between being too cautious and not to allow development, new knowledge to come. It's very difficult to find that boundary, the limit of that. But once again, what is written here is for life. Anything we see in our lives that's not well known, we need to take that approach for our own benefit. For the Spiritism, even more. I'm not going to talk about something on the Spiritism here that makes no sense, that no one reliable like Chico, like Divaldo, like Kardec would mention, because I don't know. So
I guess I was actually referring to the first part of this section, and I could be wrong, where if we can just go back up. I'll just. These phenomena, which may be regarded as involving natural spiritist practice, are very important because they exclude any suspicion of contrivance. So I guess it falls into there. What I'm hearing, what you're reading, what I'm reading on the screen, I'm saying, is that not potentially something that falls into what is being talked about here? I'm not suggesting that it's true, that one group knows more than the other or whatever, but what I'm saying is, or I could be reading it wrong, but that paragraph is saying to me exactly what the example that was given before is talking about.
maybe I don't see like that, but everyone reading the same test has different interpretations of the test, and that's very normal and positive. So maybe I don't know. That's my honest answer. I don't know. I think that the only
Can I
thing.
just say something about this? When we say, you said, we don't know about contrivance, what it means. So I had a little research just to see what contrivance means in Google, Dr. Google. It told me that it's the use of a skill to create or bring about something, especially with a consequent effect or artificiality. So reflecting on this, in this context, may be that someone is using something to create that effect. So within these, as the paragraph says to us, that there are some things that naturally occur, and it is independent of anybody's will, incarnated, I believe. It just indicated, as it says here by Kardec, that this phenomenon is a natural, spiritist phenomenon. It is not something that is created by anybody. I think that is the only meaning that is there. We need to be, and I agree with Guilherme 100%, we always need to be very careful, because psychologically human beings are very tendentious to cover up the holes of meaning with something that is close to our heart, something that's close to our understanding. So we always try to put something there that we don't know 100%. So we always have to be very cautious. And as Kardec always advised us to always stick to the side of reason. Is something sounds reasonable or not? So it is very important for us to always be careful with this, especially talking about mediumship, which is a natural phenomenon. And he's just here with this book and studying this book, which completely demystifies these phenomena that is so natural and that's been happening throughout our history.
Liz, I like pretty much the way you go, and but there's something I would like to mention as well. The way I see, we have to work with reason, right? Reason quite often is mixed with common sense, but common sense is not equal to everyone. Everyone believes they have common sense, and it's not really the case. So we have to reason with what we know. And as Kardec said, rely on science. He said many times that if science proves something else, adjust what we know in the Spiritism, in different words, of course. But he said that. So he had the vision that what he knew at that particular time, on the 1800s, would change. And he was happy with that. So yes, we have to work with reason. We have to listen to science. And if science is proving something that within the Spiritism boundaries are no longer valid, we have to adjust. Prime example here, Adam and Eve, the apple and the snake, blah. If we decide to stick to it, we'll miss a lot of good opportunities. And there are people that are happy to stick to it, because that's the way they see themselves. That's the way they fulfill their needs. But today, science has proved through findings, material findings, that was not really like that, you know? So we need to always use science was one of the pillars to give us confidence that we are not totally away from the reality. Sometimes science will find something that we believe is incomplete. We may do not agree, but we have to listen to them. That will give us comfort that at least we are not going too far away from reality.
Guilherme, can I just add something, please?
Sure.
When Liz mentioned that things should change naturally, and it's better when it works that way. I agree very much on that sense, because, for example, natural rivers, when they flow, and the currents, and the sea currents, and the air currents, they break down negative energy. And when we are giving the pass on someone, we are more or less doing the same thing. And it's all in a very natural way and form. So yeah, I do agree on that sense.
Good stuff. Let's move on. Well, what time is it? I still have quite a path to the end. Of all spirits manifestation, the simplest and the most frequent are noises and raps. However, it is especially in these cases that we must be on guard against illusion, since there are many natural causes that can produce them. Look at the way Kardec uses his reason. Yeah, I can make a noise with my own bare hands on the table. That could be exactly the same as one spirit doing. So he's always trying to bring us to put our feet on the ground to make that kind of evaluation before we take anything as granted, anything for granted. The wind whistling or banging an object, or all moving of an object without our awareness of it, an acoustic effect, a hidden animal, an insect, etc. Even off-colored pranks. Besides, spirit noise have peculiar characteristics with variable intensity and tone, and which makes them easy to recognize and not to be confused with the crackling wood, crackling fire, or the dew of tick-tock of a clock. The raps are dry, sometimes muffled, weak and light, sometimes loud and distinct, even noisy, and they change place and repeat themselves without any mechanical regularity. The most effective means of controlling them, which leaves no doubt as to their origin, is to subject them to our will. What he's trying to say here is that if we are facing an event of several raps in our home, try to apply our will to it to see if it changes anything. Right? If the noises make themselves heard wherever we so indicate, if they respond to our thought by repeating themselves the number of times we request, and if they increase or decrease the intensity, we cannot deny that there is an intelligent cause present. Nevertheless, the lack of such a response does not necessarily prove the contrary. Basically, he said yes, no, and maybe. It's up to us to decide to accept anything as given, or to dig a little bit to try to find if it is true, if it's not true, if it makes sense, if it doesn't make sense. 84. However, if after a detailed examination we accept the fact that the noises or any other effect are real manifestations, would it then be reasonable for us to be afraid of them? I bet that how many people we have here today? Maybe we are at 21 in this room. I bet if you have a rap next to us, the great majority will run. Am I right to say that? I think that's the case. We may be,
yes.
Yeah, we may be embarrassed to say otherwise, but that's what's going to happen. And that's understandable, right? Assuredly not since these cases pose no danger. Well,
Gil, can I just say something?
sure.
I shook my head then because I wouldn't, because from a scientific point of view, I would be wanting to find out what the rap was, whether it was had come from a source that was in the room, the wind, from someone outside the door or someone playing a prank. I wouldn't run. I wouldn't.
I would tell you about me. In the beginning, I would. And I had enough knowledge about Spiritism not to run, but I would. It's safer to run, and then I will investigate later. Nowadays, depending where I am, depending or what's going on, I may be a bit more cool with that. You here, you're trying to scare me, you're trying to show me something, you're trying to get my attention. But it was not always like that, right? So I'm saying that because it depends from people to people, you know. I'm not blaming anyone if they run. I think it's normal, it's human. Run, evaluate, and then you start to be more comfortable with whatever is happening. Only persons who believe that the devil is involved can be affected adversely by them, like children who fear werewolves and boogeymen. Well, everything we do not understand, even today, a lot of people address the devil as the root cause of it. What is the devil? The devil is a spirit, like we are a spirit, right? So we need to try to understand the mechanism of how things could be happening, right? When he mentioned here werewolves and boogeymen, and because this is in history, the human history. Now we always had fear of something unknown, and that's I would say that's normal. The beauty of Spiritism is that Spiritism is bringing us enough knowledge to dismantle all of it, to dismantle the fear of the devil, to dismantle the fear of werewolves or boogeymen or whatever. This is the main, in my opinion, this is what is most important on the Spiritism. Kardec brought to us an extreme amount of knowledge to allow us to use the reason. We may run in the first instance, but then when we stop to run, we will evaluate what could be. Could be this, could be that, blah, blah, blah. And then perhaps we even return to that place, because at that time, we'll be comfortable with our findings, with what we know, to face that face to face. Under certain circumstances, we must agree these manifestations take on very disagreeable proportions and persistence. Therefore, those who experience them naturally desire to get rid of them. Consequently, an explanation regarding the matter is required. There are a lot of registers telling us that that house in that particular place is haunted. That is happening on every corner of the world. Is really haunted? Why is haunted? No one wants to live there. Why? Because of what we know. We know it's haunted. We don't want to go there. But if we start to evaluate what that means, how we can work with that, then it would be a bit different. Hi, Rafael, go on.
Just one thing to add in regards to hauntings. Hauntings are generally spirits that remain connected to a place due to some negative act that they discharged within that place, and they become, their physical energy in perispirit becomes attached to that place. So for example, if you hurt or kill someone badly in a property, you're very likely to stay, or if you kill yourself, you're very likely to stay very firmly attached to that property. So people that come and visit will often see the residue energy of their act, and they'll feel the residue energy of their act. And when they bring the ectoplasm, the life force, just from being reincarnated, it gives strength and power to the spirit that's within that house. And that's how sometimes people see ghosts, because they connect with the residual energy of the act, and that connection creates like a link between the reincarnate, the residual act, and the spirit that's in relation to that. But the fact that we feel so much attraction to haunted places, it's a way that spirituality found that when we visit those places with our good souls and positive thinkings, even from being alive, we help break down the force that's connected, negative force that's connected to that. And we help that spirit slowly change their own magnetism and absorbing the energy flow of these people that come along. The place will change, and the spirits will slowly and gently learn and grow and detach themselves from that kind of stagnated energy and stagnated vibe. Of course, he will always be attached to the act, and he or she will never detach themselves fully until he's done something positive of greater good, or suffers some sort of energy rebound, like, for example, a violent death in, I don't know, 3-4 reincarnations time, to be completely free of that link. But hauntings and our human attraction to it is a positive thing, in a way.
I don't know. If you found a haunted place, don't invite me to go. I'm not attracted to it. Thank you.
Me too. I'm very scared.
Yeah. No, I'm okay. I'm okay where I am.
I'm very scared. I'm terrified. I'm exactly like you. I'm very scared of spirits and hauntings and things like that.
No, well, I'm not scared of spirits, but I'm okay. I'll leave Munir to go, because he waved the hand like, I want to go. Go, Munir.
No, just want to make a distinction, because sometimes we attach certain kinds of more material phenomena to evil spirits. But I make a clear distinction between, I don't say inferior, I don't like that word, but backward spirits and evil spirits. And I don't see sometimes haunted places as the result of an evil spirit wanting to do evil. I see as a backward spirit attached to a material place or a material circumstance. And then, of course, when there is the combination with the fluids or, mediums and so on that provide the necessary condition for the physical manifestations to occur, then they will occur. But personally, I don't see that, it's always the result of evil spirits. For instance, we see the Fox sisters. The spirit that was there was trying to tell them what had happened to him. Of course, there was a crime, but the spirit himself wasn't the one responsible. He was the victim. So, as I say, I don't see that type of manifestation is always linked to evil spirits, but certainly there is a degree of backwardness.
As I like to say, Munir, there isn't a single rule to explain everything. We had enormous quantity of possibilities for that phenomena. The reasons could be enormous. I agree with you, Munir. And even when I think that I know what explains that phenomena, I don't, because I prefer to study, evaluate, prove me wrong, because I think that is the safest way to act. There's so many possibilities on everything. Now, Ebony, what do you want to say? Tell me.
Hi, good morning, everybody. No, I just wanted to say that as we continue reading the paragraph 85, it supports exactly what Munir is saying. Highly evolved spirits use backward spirits to create these kinds of physical phenomena. So if we use our reasoning, can we say that highly evolved spirits use backward spirits to produce evil? So I think, you know, we need to leave the possibility open that backward spirits, the presence of backward spirits creating physical phenomena does not necessarily mean that they are engaged in evil practices.
Okay, so now I have a question for you. Why the evolved spirits need to use those backward spirits to produce this phenomenon?
Well, it tells us that they're, you know, I think it has to do with their perispirit. Their perispirit is more evolved. You know, it's too evolved to engage in these kinds of practices.
And it's missing a little word.
It needs the heavy fluids. It's
That's it.
I mean,
that's it. Yeah. The only need they have to engage with those spirits, they don't need to be backwards. They could be more earthly spirits, if you like. It's because of the fluid. They don't have that fluid anymore. That's all. Very good. Very good. Guys, it is time to close our study for today. And that was very good. I really, really appreciate your participation. That's what a study is for. And I'm looking forward to see you all again next week, hoping that you all have lots of questions, lots of comments, because that's very, very good. Thank you all for that. I will stop sharing my screen. I will stop also recording.